Hello everyone. So this is another day and we would be talking about Angular routing today. So we would continue from exactly where we left off in our previous video. So today we'll be talking about Angular routing, and before we get started, I would like to run this application. So you may notice that I press this button to save this application, but always remember that to save this application, the normal way to do that is by going to your terminal and writing the command ng serve. I'm just going to do that ng serve, or you can write ngs. So always remember that. So I actually have this built in into my IDE, and that's why I can press that particular button and it just saves my Angular application. So I'm going to show you this. You will notice that this button also runs the command ng serve over here. So this is just a recap to make it to understand that the actual way of serving your application is by running ng serve. I might be using this button several times during the course of this tutorial because it's easier for me to do that actually. So that's been said. So let's take a look at our application where we actually left off. I would copy this URL and then I'm going to go over to our IDE. I'll paste this here, and this is actually what we did in our last video. So today we will be learning how to make use of Angular routing to navigate from one page to another page. So let's do that now. So to make use of Angular routing, we need to move over to the app routing module. And take note, this we can also create more routing module. And remember what I said, that the routing module is just a type of a module, and this module is just dedicated to routing itself. So let's open this and see what we have over here. So we have a whole lot of things going on here, and you can see we have our routes over here, and this is an empty array. So this empty, but within this empty array is where we would be writing all our routes. So I just wanted to write our first route. So the first route we're going to write will be this. To write a route, what we need to do first is to have an object, not really an empty object, because we would be adding things into it. So this is an object, and the first thing we want to do is to declare the path. So the path of this particular route is just going to be blank, and by blank I simply means it is the root of the application. So I'm going to say this is the path, and I'm going to assign this path to a specific component. In this case, I want to assign this path to our app component. That's to our app component. Now, if you take a look at this, we can see that the name of this component is called app component in camel casing, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to say components should be what's app components, and my IDE actually imports that for me. So just in case of that fails to import, you just actually need to write the importation by yourself. So here we have our path is equal to the app component, and if I should save this now, you will notice that it will come over here. There's actually not much difference because this is the root path of the application. But what about if we want to declare more routes? I can come over here, add a comma, and declare a new object. So I can say that the new path of this one is going to be, let's say we want this to be, let's say about us, about us. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come over here and I'll say components should be the about us components. The about us component. So when I save this, if I should come over here and I click here and I go to slash about us, and let's see what happens. We can see that that's actually not working, and it just redirects us back to the root file. So let's see why that's happening in our code. If we should come over here now to our app components.html, you will realize that we just have only these things here, but there's something we need to add. We need to add our route outlet. So here we're going to say route outlet, and we close that. And if we should save this and try again, and you can see that this is becoming duplicated. I'm going to explain why that's happening soon. But if we should come here, I will go to about us, and we'll save this. Now, can you say we're having about us showing 2 times over here? So let me explain what's going on. Over here, we have our router, our app routing, and we say that we want to load up the app components. Now the question is, where exactly do we want to load this? Where exactly do we want this to appear? So by putting the router outlet here, it simply means we want this to appear over here. And if we just take a look at this again, we say we want our app component. And remember that this is the app component. So we actually want this code to appear within this router outlet, and that is what causes the initial duplication. So when I then move over to the About Us route, we're actually saying that we want the About Us to show up here, and we already have the About Us here, so that is causing a duplication in the About Us. So to fix this, all we need to do is to take this out, and when we take this out and save this, you can see that we are having just About Us here, and if we should go to the root route, we can see that we are not really having anything over there because there's actually nothing to show. So we're going to correct that by saying that we want the root of our application now not to be the app component, but to be the login, component, because we want people to log into our application. So let's say login page components, and when we save that now, we can see that this is the login page. And when we move over here, we can see that About Us, we can see that this is the About Us. So this is actually how we create navigation within our Angular application. So let's move over to the other part. So this being said, you will notice that we just have a title here just showing sample Angular, which is the name of our application actually, but in reality, let's just take a look at Wikipedia. So let's take a look at Wikipedia, and over here we'll move over to wikipedia.org. So if I should select the English and I move over to a specific article, so let me say, I move over to content. Now, can you see we have Wikipedia content, and we have this kind of dynamic title showing up on every page. So if we move over to donate, you can see make your donation, and this is actually changing, but this is not actually the case in our application. We just have the title showing the same thing every now and then. So we have this is our login page, but it's actually showing us sample Angular. So we actually want to correct this now. So to correct this, the way we would have done this before now, if this happens to be 2021, we would have actually need to write a little bit of JavaScript code, and we move over to our login components. We'll move over here. We would say document.title should be equal to, and that's going to be equal to, let's say login page. So doing this is going to fix this. Now you can see that here we have login page, and when we go to about, and we go over here, this actually, okay, I guess I missed that route. So let's say about, and this takes us to our About Us, and we can now see the sample Angular. But if we should go to the About Us, and we also say document.title, and we say that should be equal to About Us, and we save this, you can see we have About Us here. If we should go back, we have login page, About Us, login page, About Us. So that's just how it works. But in Angular 14, this is way easier. Instead of us moving to the individual place and writing document the title on each of the pages, there's an easy way of doing this. And if you have noticed, I actually like the easy way of doing something as long as it is effective. So let's go on over here. So we should go to our app routing, and I come over here. So since we know that this particular route is the login page component, I can just come here and I could say title should be, I'm going to say that title, the value for the title should be what? Login page. And if I should save this now, you can see that over here, we are still having login page. And when we move over to the About Us, because I will remove that from the About Us component, now let's add it over here and see what we have here. We can say title should be equal to About Us from route. So I just want to make this to be different from what I wrote earlier on. So you can see we have about us from route over here. So that is just it. And I would remove this. Let's just keep this about us. Okay, so we have about us, and this is way easier than going to write document.title. So one more thing that you may have noticed is that if we should put a wrong route over here, let's say we put about, you remember we don't really have a route called about, we only have about -us. When we do this, it takes us back to a kind of no page. Now, this is meant just takes us back to the root application, and we know to the root route rather, and we know that the root route is actually the login page. But because of this is an error, it's not really rendering the login page, but probably when we refresh it, it shows the login page. So in order for us to handle that error, we need to do something in the application. But before then, I just want to prove to us that this is basically an error. So this looks too big. Let me minimize this a bit. Okay, so I just want to prove to us that this is an error, and I'm going to say /about again. Now, can you see over here that we have this error showing up here, and it says that cannot match any route, all URL segments about. So that simply means that Angular cannot really find the route that is called about, and that is because we've never declared about here. But if we should change about us now to just about, and let's see how that goes. You can see that we have about us works over here, and we don't have that error showing up anymore. But if we should come over here now and say about us, you can see we have that error. Now, how do we handle this kind of error? We want in a situation whereby when we have an error, it should take us to a not found page. So to do that, first thing we need to do is that we need to create a new component that is going to serve as our 404 page. So let's do that quickly. So we'll take this away, and I'm going to say ng. The command to generate a new component is to generate, G for generate, C for component, and I'm going to say not found page. So let me enter this, and this is going to be registered in our app module.ts. Like you can see, it's updated the app module.ts over here. So if we should go to our app module.ts now, we can see we have the not found page, which is declared under the declaration section. And we can see the folder here saying not found. So this is actually showing red because it is currently not added to Git. So that doesn't mean it's an error. It's just the way the IDE shows things that are yet to be added to Git. So let's come over here and let's see this not found page works. So I'm going to change this to be an h1 tag, and I'll say I'll say this page cannot be found. So let's save this now. But how do we show up this page whenever we have an error in our code? We just need to go to our routing, and we would need to add this. Now we're going to say a path. The path that we want is this time around is going to be ** or asterisk. So we are going to come over here. Is this called star or asterisk? I'm not really sure, but I'd rather call it star. So let's go component. Component is where you're going to say not found page components. Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. Now, first thing you need to know is that Angular looks at the routes from top to bottom. So when Angular is searching for the routes that match, it starts from the top. It sees that this actually doesn't match. It goes over to the next one. And when it sees that this doesn't match, it moves over to the next one. Now, this asterisk is just a way of Angular understanding that, okay, when you can't find any of these over here, just use this. Just use this as the last resort to this. So that's basically how this works, and this is going to work for all our not found pages. So let's try it again. So you remember that about is taking us to this one, but when we go about -us now, you can see this page cannot be found, and we can't really see that error here anymore because we have actually handled that particular error not to show up again. So, and to prove this, I'm just going to put a route that is obviously wrong, and I'm going to enter this. Now you can see this page cannot be found. So if I should enter any other page that already makes sense, it just keeps giving us this page cannot be found. But when I enter a route that makes sense like this, it takes us to the appropriate place. So that's basically how this works. And one thing for you to note is that the not found page components, or your 404 page, whatsoever you will name in it, must always be the last on the list of your routes. So if I should take this now, and I take this and let me put it at the very top. I put it at the very top over here, and I save this. Let's try to see. We went over to the about page, and it's loading. Page cannot be found, and this page actually exists. So if we should go over to this one over here, you can see page cannot be found. So this is the reason why you must always put this particular route at the end of all your routing lists. So let's save that now. We can see this is the login page. So that's been said, another question that you may have is, we've been navigating this particular route using the web address bar. But in reality, like when I was navigating Wikipedia, I was actually clicking from places to places and all that. So how do we do this in Angular? So let's just create one more page so that we can have more things to navigate with. So I'm going to say ng generate component. I'm going to call this home. That's not how to write home. I'll call this home now, and I'm going to generate another one. We have home about. Let's say we have contact us. So ng generate component, and let's call this contacts. Contact, and I have done this as well. So at this point in time, we have generated 2 more components, and I'm going to be routing everything directly from the login page. So probably we should have called this maybe landing page or something, but you get the idea. So let's come over here and let's create some more routes. So I'm going to call this div, or let me give this a nav. Give this a nav, and over here, I'm just going to use an unordered listing, and I'm going to give this a list over here. So the first on my list here is going to be a link, and I'll use my a tag, and then I would come over here to call this let's say home, and I'm just going to do this way, and I'll duplicate this several times so I can just change the values. So I have home. What else do I have here? I have about us, and I have what again? Let's see. I think I have contact, but for some reason it's yet to load up over here. Yeah, it just got loaded. So I have contacts, or let me call it contact us, and the last one here is, I really don't want to route anything to my not found page because I feel it doesn't make sense to do that. So I'm just going to take this away. So now we have this over here, and if we should take a look at this is actually not working right now. And I want you to observe what is going on over here. We can see that this is actually refreshing the application. And if you remember what I said in the first video, this is not how single page application works. Like, everything is meant to be seamless. We're not supposed to be having this thing rolling over here. So how do we resolve that? We can resolve that by taking out all the href that we have over here. So I just created a multiple selection over there, and I'm going to be removing all the href that we have over there. So I'll replace them with something called the router link instead. So if I should save this now, and we have this, you can see that this is no longer, we don't have this rotation happening here anymore. You can see that. So, but they're actually not routing to anywhere because we've not really given them a path of which they should route to. So they're all routing to the root route in this case. So we're going to ask them to route themselves to somewhere that actually makes more sense. But before we do that, I'm going to create the routes for the other pages. So To do this, I would duplicate this and come over here. So here I have what now? I have, let's say, home. I have home, and I would say that this should be what the home component. It should be in camel casing, home component, and the title should be home. And I'll do this for contact us, duplicate this, and I will have this one should be what's contact, and this should be contact component. And this should be, the title should be contact us. So I'm going to save this now, and I think I now have all the routes. So take note, the path is what is needed in this case to navigate. So I'm going to be taking note of the path, and I will come over here. So since this is just home, I can just decide to leave it this way. I'm just going to put a single forward slash, and over here, I'm going to put this forward slash, which simply means that I want this particular route to start from the very beginning, and it should locate what about. And when it locates about, and the other one is going to start from the very beginning, and I wanted to locate contact. So I'm going to save this. Do we have any other one? So we have this, and just this. Okay, I guess we're good in this case. So now I'm going to click on home, and nothing happened because we're currently on the home page. And here I'll click on about. You can see that this page cannot be found. Something is wrong. So let's see why that's happening. So we don't actually have the about page here. I think I made an error here. We're supposed to have the about page. So I'm going to duplicate this. So can you see that that route wasn't really there, and that's why it gave out that 404 page. So I'm going to say this is about, and this is about us component, and I'm going to call this about us. So let's save this now and let's see. So can you see that the about us works? If I should go back over here and I click on contact, you can see contact works, but now we're missing home. So let's add home to this list. So let's add home here. So let's say home, or rather this is home. I think I'm mistyping all these things. So this is home. I'm going to add home over here. So let's go back, and here we have home. You can see home works, but now that we're on the home page, we can't really navigate to another page from here. So how do we resolve this particular issue? If you remember when we started this particular video, we actually said that when we put something on the app HTML, they would show across all routes. So what we're going to do in this case is that we're going to take our navigation out of here, and we're going to put it in our app HTML. So let's paste it here. Now, if we should save this now, you can see we have our home, we have about us, contact us, home, about us, contact us. So that's just basically how this works. But right now we're missing our login page. So remember, our login page is going to the root route, and I'm going to say login. And if I should save this now, we have login, home, about, and contact. So that's basically how we can go ahead to do some sort of URL navigation in Angular. So we can have as much route as we want to have in our Angular application. So that is it for this particular video, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.